Hello, my babes. It came to me yesterday to call this autistic church and to really include you in the dropping in and the setting up of energetic space, because to feel protected and to feel permission, each of us need the skill of doing this for ourselves. And we get together, we get prompted to remember through showing up in spaces like this, through encountering content like this, encountering people like each other that just naturally prompt us to remember that we're here to remember, that we're here to be tapped in above and below and turned on in our energetic channeling and letting energy flow through each of us, through our own personal system. Let the electricity, the charge, the energy move through us, being as intelligent as it is, speaking the language of energy. And when it gets to circulate, it answers its own problems. Like, we really do get to surrender and be. And so this is a place for remembering that and for practicing that. And so I'm calling on Archangel Metatron on high, in the highest dimension, gates of Source. And equally, I'm calling on Sandalphone, keeper of the innocence on earth, and tethering deep into the crystalline core heart center of the earth. Okay, now we're tethered above and below. Well, we can stretch our consciousness even beyond Metatron. Thank you, Metatron, for being this beaming light, directing us straight into Source, where we are naturally welcome and connected, but that gets distorted. And so sending our conscious will up to Source each and every day, and maybe throughout our days, is really important to feeling infinitely resourced, which is our birthright. It's our natural, authentic state. But things get distorted when we get convinced to spend time not plugging into Source. And there are so many reasons to divert our attention, because the conversations about Source have become so distorted throughout the time of humanity on Earth. And so I'm also exposing that I have been pulling cards for each time I've been showing up here, but I do that ahead of time and put them out, and it just confirms or gives tweaks on language and some imagery, just affirms the channeling. And I love shuffling. It's really meditative to me. So sitting down to shuffle is, for me, like coming into center, letting go of everything and listening. And so while I continue to shuffle, and maybe you stroke your fingertips with your thumb, or you fiddle with something in your environment, or you feel the textures of your clothes, or you stroke your own arms from shoulder to wrist, any of those can incite really gentle discharge, letting go of anything you're holding on to. Relaxes the system, which lets energy pass through and recycle above and below, exchange above and below much more easily than when we're holding on and there's tension and rigidity. And so it's also activating, soothing and activating, balance, harmony, high functioning. And so I'll also call on Raphael in the east with the crystal wand and the gleaming green energy. That's my alarm. interruption, but interruptions are welcome because it's everyday life. We're not pushing life away to be this spiritual thing. Spirituality is our baseline. It is there in everything that we do. It's just a matter of, are we connected? Are we tapped in and tuned to the frequency of the unwounded connection to everything? And do we feel safe with ourselves in that? So we're remembering our innate safety in that by getting together here. And that's what Autistic Church is for. It's for the exquisitely sensitive people to remember that they are safe with themselves. And to get together, to breathe that permission among us, to allow that remembering. So, gleaming green energy from the east, Archangel Raphael, and welcoming Archangel Michael with the brilliant sword, and the blue flame energy of the south. And Archangel Gabriel in the west, with the waters of the west. And the crystal chalice, the cup. And this white, sparkling light. And then Archangel Uriel of the north, the golden pentacle. And the ruby red light. Slicing through the density. We are held. We are seen and heard and held by so much invisible support. Yeah, and the card that dropped out there is the moon. And it's this, we're in this process of revealing inside ourselves this connection, remembering the sun consciousness at heart center. And we have to discharge the density to allow the sun to shine. It's already shining. We don't have to do anything to get the sun to shine. It's in there. There is an unwounded depth to our consciousness and our illuminated presence that is shining, shining, shining. Whether you actively feel it, whether you can see it in others, it does get clouded out by density, by the charge that's withheld, the emotion, the attachments. It bunks up the system. There's the density accumulates in front of the sun. And so one reason I give myself permission to show up here is that I'm aware that on the Mayan calendar, I am a galactic storm. And so I'm on Earth to naturally be drawn towards density, to siphon it forwards, to bring it to the surface so that it can go back into circulation, right? When enough clouds and electricity gathers, a storm moves through to clear the sky and the sun can shine. So that's what I'm here doing with you. And so if you feel discomfort surfacing, please know that that is part of the intention, to be holding safe space, to be working with ascended master beings that are all approving and that are completely encouraging of allowing all of the density to surface and dissolve, to be sent back into circulation, exchange, active exchange with the earth and with source, to relieve our bodies, to relieve our minds, to be in our brilliance of being led by the sun consciousness beaming in our heart center, and to feel whole, to feel wholehearted, to feel our whole system open, soothed, activated, all at once. And to be in that flexibility to feel safe with yourself, face to face with whatever comes. Yes, we have more access to bending time and manifesting instantaneously. That train of thought was lost with the dogs going to investigate the cat coming in the cat door. And that'll happen. And the directive is, the need is to be able to let go. Take a few breaths, see if the thing is still there. If it's still meaningful, if it's still full of energy. I'm gonna... Hey! But the magician came out next. And it is the conscious participation in synchronicity. It is meeting yourself moment by moment, doing the alchemy, which is the allowing of density to surface, to be transmuted into flow and back into fresh energy. And you have infinitely resourced allies to do this with. Even if no other human around you gets it or is doing it, you are so supported. And it is time. It is time. And it is time to take time to be with yourself, the hermit. I'm not only annoyed because the dog is barking during our video, but also because my child is still sleeping and needs to sleep. So just clearing this space, clearing this home of the disturbance energy, clearing you, your space, your home. That's part of the message of the hermit, is like that there are always moments like that to turn inwards, to really tune in, to really become the center point of your own infinity sign between God, source, heaven, and the earth, and to move energy between the two to clear distortion and disturbance, to come back to center. That really feels like the message for today. So, affirmed by more opportunity. Again, Autistic Church is for exquisitely sensitive people that can easily be thrown off by disturbances, by things out of the norm, out of the routine, because we're so naturally flexible and open that we've latched on to attachments and certain things to attempt to stabilize ourselves, because no one fucking trained us on how to do what we're talking about, which is to stabilize inside. We've been relying on external routines, people, certain textures, certain repetitive foods or actions or behaviors that make us feel safe and steady. And I'm not saying that you have to replace any of that. You do you. And it's really true. Like, love what you love. And I love that about autistic people. And by autistic, I mean I just am autistic. And so, of course, any church that I hold is going to be autistic church. And what I mean by church is that we're talking gospel. We're talking about the way of Jesus. Jesus was a master of energy, and was exquisitely sensitive, but stabilized through devoted practice to alchemy, to transmuting density, and being center point of his own infinity sign, of his own universe, tapped into the Father, source, above, the psychic, mental realm, and to the Mother, Earth, the physical realm. And the alchemy is the movement of energy between the two. Jesus, very much a master of that. Every story about him emphasizes that, if you're willing to look. And so I don't use the word church lightly. I don't necessarily feel completely comfortable. I thought, okay, this idea just came to me yesterday, and I thought, well, maybe I'll sit with it a bit. And then the answer was, no, proceed. And so I proceeded in a way where I'm just exposing the process to you. But moving forward, I really intend to show up like open ceremony, channel, transmission, which goes along with moving energy, an energetic, ASMR Reiki experience. And then to close. So that's how it will be going, as far as I can see, in the coming days. But the top card is word. And these times are a call to attention, even more than action, bringing our attention to the nonverbal, to feeling and sensing, to energy. The language of energy is nonverbal. And so I believe the question that we are here to honor in Autistic Church is, do our words honor our nonverbal experience? Because if they don't, then we're not being honest and kind at the same time, and we're hurting ourselves. And we're here to course correct on that front. It is perfectly legitimate that we absorbed and we're conditioned to hurt ourselves that way in a really, really regular, like kind of all day, every day kind of way. But we are here to course correct for our own soul, for our soul families, and for the collective and the cosmos. Every investment that we make to allow our words and actions to honor our nonverbal experience is such a huge contribution. And that is a very efficient, effective portal to anchoring in our own center. And it takes practice and playfulness to narrate your nonverbal experience in words. It takes deep listening. It takes surrender to the feeling and sensing faculties, which have been dismissed and pushed aside in the priority of academia and intellect. But those two things go together. But one is primary. We are primarily non-verbal. Our feeling and sensing faculties are meant to be the primary informant of our perceiving and our processing. But that has been really distorted in human history, and it's hurting us. And so this church is for anyone and everyone. You do not have to identify as autistic. And autistic feels like a fun, yummy, squishy, lovely word to me at this point. It, to me, is one of the words that feel most like home. But I still see the word used often in a way that brings fury to my experience in the moment, to my felt sense experience in the moment. And that fury is sharpening the sword of my perception, of my presence in my mind, because my most powerful counteraction to make a difference is through embodiment, is through being a living definition that destroys I didn't know I was going in that direction, but that truly dissolves the tangles that are still tormenting our population, that are really inaccurate and that really serve the perpetuation of intellect, academia, scientific fact being prioritized and given so much value over feeling and sensing, intuitive impulse, instinct, way of being. And so my understanding of what the neurodivergent population, which I consider everyone with active inner dialogue, which is 40% of the people. So still a minority, but a significant minority that has the power to band together to put feeling and sensing back on top, because it's never going to crush out. I know I said destroy. Maybe that was just to get our attention. But it will rewrite our lived experience collectively. And it's a win-win, because all people are actually inherently designed to be primarily feeling and sensing. So that's where it does overpower, but it reinstates a power that's no longer a power battle. Power, as an acronym, prisoner of war energy retrieval. There's no longer a war between these two things, because they're back in their natural order, where feeling and sensing is pre-verbal. And then the verbal comes in, and the verbal, in its natural form, would respect the feeling and sensing. And there's still a lot of argument about this on Earth. There's arguments about this inside ourselves, because it is against the grain. But if you will, show up with me day by day. I'm going to do my best to put it out around the same time each day as well. All I can guarantee is that I've showed up today. But this means a lot to me. This conversation is absolutely my special interest, and it connects to, feeds, restores all of my favorite areas of interest: parenting, intimate relationships, creative expression, and making meaningful impact. Like, those are my fuel, my fire for having this conversation. And if you love this conversation, check out it feels kind of silly to add a sales thing. Do you add a sales thing in church? It's like, yeah, come for snacks. Come for snacks at the back of the church, or we're doing a picnic on the weekend, right? There is always invitations in my experience of church. There's an information about how does this community continue outside of this hour that we've gathered for service. And so I welcome you to kindergarten, which is actually called Super Self. Actually, it's going by both things. Oh, I feel this. I feel like I'm being ripped open by spirit to be at a new level of speaking to all of this. And like, there's going to be team and community around me like I have never experienced before, and I'm being asked to stand in that and trust that. And like, I am dripping sweat right now. This is feeling so intense and so on point, and so matters so much to me and through me. So, antidote aesthetic, APOCALYPTA, DCFO unschool. In all of my online matrix, there will only be one membership, one monthly membership, and it is Super Self Kindergarten preschool/kindergarten. It is daily, weekly, monthly interactive opportunity where all you need is your own attention to follow along as best you can in the energetic transmissions and the invitations to be stimulating your own system, to allow energy movement to reveal, to remember your own wholehearted, heart-centered nature that is the wisdom that you've always craved reconnecting to and that you've been looking for in external places, that recognition and that permission. We are remembering that it is alive and thriving inside of us. So we are tapping into the super self, which is the unwounded expression of us underneath it all, that is so fully aware of its own centeredness between source and earth, and that it is infinitely resourced and powerful. It's not in any war, it's not in any push-pull for its power. It just is. I am that I am. Power. The power to move so much energy, the power to be clear, the power to no longer be constipated by the energetic clumps, the traumas, the abuses that stack up in our systems when we don't feel permission to be tethered to the place in us that feels safe with ourselves and safe in our aliveness to allow energy to fully recycle through our system, from our system. This is leading edge work. It is intense. It can feel awkward and stumbly, but please know that you are so not alone. Please reach out anytime. And please get in on kindergarten. The doors will be open this season until the 14th. And it is the continuation of other memberships that I've had going on, but everything is streamlining into this experience because we all have this kindergartner alive inside of us that is so at peace with the mystery and that is so sure of itself, but also open and curious and not afraid of the change moment by moment by moment, because it can always rely on its own sunshine for sustenance. It's not curious because it's looking outwards for answers. It's curious because there's a confidence that there are endless answers to our conundrums, to our constipation, that everything in life is prompting us back to center, to be the energetically intelligent beings that we are, allowing energy to recycle fully through us. Everything that we see and encounter and experience in our earth life is given to us to prompt us back into the sun consciousness of our own heart space and be the eternal kindergartner in love with life, in love with living through our own body, through our own brain, through our own experiencing, while connected to everything and feeling really safe with ourselves in that. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out and find all the links in the description box below. I'll see you tomorrow.